Hi folks, Tim here. Welcome back to From 8 to 38, the Chronicles of a Young Entrepreneur. You will have to forgive me. Once again, I am driving, and I'm sure that gets a little tiring after a while for you folks watching me just talk in the truck. But again, it is my best place to do some thinking and to have a somewhat undivided attention in trying to record. So last week, we talked about taking a day off. And that video had some awesome response. I really appreciate the response that folks had for that video. I enjoyed making it, and I know Jackson got a kick out of riding in the truck with me while I made a video. And yes, to respond to a couple of the text messages that my friends sent, it is absolutely amazing that he sat in the truck for 15 minutes as I recorded that video and didn't say a word. Anyway, we're going to reach back into our archives a little bit, and I discussed a few chapters ago, I don't remember exactly when, but in the description I'll try to find the video and put it as far as what chapter it was. But we discussed working well and playing well, basically, with your competition. And it's something that I have found to be very, very helpful in this field. Again, we're not starving. None of us are worried about where the next meal is going to come from for our family. There is a glut of work here, which is great. And many times when we work together, we can really divide and conquer, as they say. So by talking with my fellow landscapers in the area, I can kind of determine if they've worked for somebody, if the person has been a good client or a bad client, because it does happen. I mean, we want to know if going into a job, someone is a known problem. And it doesn't happen a lot. Very, very rarely does that actually happen. Years ago, it used to be much more of a problem, but now folks are realizing that the landscaping trade is actually a trade that people do for more than just gas money or stuff like that. As a buddy of mine puts it, he weed whacks for bait money. It's an older gentleman, a friend of mine, and he works part-time for a landscaper, and he says he weed whacks for bait money. So kind of a little joke there between myself and him and a couple other guys. But landscaping is actually a professional trade at this point. Didn't always used to be, but with the advent of so many second homeowners, even if they live here just about full-time and commute to the city a couple days a week for work, many times we are doing a lot of things that we didn't used to do. So before, years ago, you would have tree work done if you couldn't quite handle it, or if you had a massive lawn and you didn't want to buy a big lawnmower, you had somebody mow that, or maybe if you had a big field, you had the local farmer brush hog it. Well, times have changed for sure, and landscaping is an actual trade. I know I keep saying that, but it's true. So, with the advent of all that stuff happening, there's lots of work out there for the landscapers. Myself, my friends, and we all work together pretty well. And I know, again, I've mentioned this stuff before, but it's important. So, today, and the reason I'm actually mentioning all this is because today I am on my way in to Kingston to try to give my buddy a hand at a commercial account he's got. He took on a big labor-heavy commercial account, and he's trying to get all the mulching done before a deadline that they have set, which is normal. It's something that we often do, and it's something that we actually do in the residential world as well. I have deadlines every single week on our mow list, for instance. We have certain lawns that need to be done by Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, etc. But I wanted to talk about do unto others and being kind to your neighbor, because there's two things that we can do that don't really cost us anything. And in the business world, when you can do something nice for someone else and it doesn't really cost a lot, it's better for both people, right? So we went and we did a cemetery cleanup late last week. I think it was Friday of last week. We went and did one for free, just because I had my friend's machine, a giant ride-on blower, and it took an hour and a half to do a cemetery cleanup that would have usually taken a day. So I was able to finish my work early, and we went and did this other one just because it was the day or two before Mother's Day, and I knew people would be going to cemeteries. So it's a little bit of, again, running the business, making wise business decisions, but you can do something like that. I was on my own. I wasn't making payroll for the day, let's say. I had done another job earlier in the day to cover the cost of the business expenses for the day, and then we went and threw this free job in. So nice things like that you can do as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, especially once you're established. You know, when you're trying to figure out where next month's bills are going to come from, maybe it's not the best time to decide to give away a day's worth of work. But when you do at some point decide to start giving things away to support the community, going to different community events and helping with fundraisers, it's not a, I'm going to do this for you so you do something for me. It is just a flat out gift, something that you would expect not to have returned. So I wanted to touch on, I guess it's a real mix of everything today. A bunch of different thoughts rattling around in my brain. But that's definitely one of them, is working nice with your landscape friends. So again, I'm going in to help him today. I only have a couple hours to be able to help him. He doesn't know I'm coming. Of course, by the time this video comes out, he will know about it. But just going in to help him out for a couple hours today, because I know he's stressed about trying to get this project done before his deadline. And I know that he would do the same for us. He's loaned us machinery. He's done some wonderful things for us in the past. So it's really nice to be able to have a great group of friends, whether it's guys or girls, and people in the same community and the same profession that you can help with. And it doesn't have to be the same profession, but for me, I know how to mulch. We do a lot of mulching at our residentials, and it's something that I'm good at, I'm fast at, and by going here for a couple hours today, we can make a big difference in his deadline. And again, it doesn't really cost me that much. So I had to go to Kingston today anyway to do some shopping for a job we're doing next week. We've got some plantings that need to go in, and I need to reserve them and pick out which ones I want, things like that. So I'm already going to Kingston, and it's just a short jog over to where he's working, and I can throw a couple hours or maybe 3 or 4 hours at him. And again, don't expect to get paid. It's just something nice to be able to do for, even though they're our competition, it's something nice to be able to do for a friend. And I think it's really important to remember that money is not everything. And again, we're doing well as far as where we are financially this year. We're doing okay even after a tough winter and a rainy spring. We're getting our work done. We're getting through our list. I could probably do some work today and catch up a little bit for next week, but this is equally important. So doing nice things for people when you can, I think it's really important. And we try to do a lot for our friends. We try to do a lot for the community. And as your business gets bigger, right, I'm working a lot of hours. Owen is working 40 hours a week, sometimes a touch more maybe. But so we have myself working almost 2 full-time jobs and Owen working a full-time job. So the business has 2 full-time people working for it. We're looking for a third, and kind of at this point we can afford to take a little bit of our income and give it back to the community. We can afford to take a little bit of time and do some mailings for a fundraiser. We can sponsor a prize, as we did. We sponsored a prize for the local sportsman club. We donated some stuff last year to the Ladies Auxiliary for the fire department for their raffle, their fundraising raffle. And I'm working now to help raise funds for the new firehouse that's going up in the town. So as your business grows, you can take some time and donate it back. And to me, that's really important, because it's all about community here for us. And we work on, I think I've said it before, but somewhere in the area of 150 properties in our town. And we spread out a little bit past the I guess the boundaries of the town, but we work for 150 or maybe even 160 now properties. Ooh, bumpy. So we work for 150 or 160 properties right in the town or right on the outskirts of the town. And if you think about that, most of the money that's coming into our business is from the town we live in and from the residents, whether they're part-time or full-time, of that town. So to be able to take some of our income and give it back to the town in the form of being able to sponsor fundraisers, to me, is a very, very worthy cause. And it's something that, if you're watching this now and you're just starting to grow your business, it's something that I would ask you, as a young entrepreneur, as a new businessman, as a new businesswoman, to keep in mind as your business grows. As you're able to financially swing some of these things, I would really recommend that you try to give some back to the community that you're working in, and that you, if it's where you actually grew up, the community that you grew up in. So giving and volunteering, very, very important to me. It always has been. I've been in the fire department for 21 years. I took a short sabbatical for a little while, just as different things were going on with getting married and doing other things like that, and trying to kind of get settled down and work on the house. But we've been back in it for a few years now, and community mindedness is very important. Again, I'm pulling in kind of a mix of a lot of different videos I've already done, and just some thoughts on my way to go help my friend today. But one of the things I will say about giving is it doesn't come without personal cost or personal sacrifice. Depending on how much you decide to give, for instance, we recently gave 1% of our gross income from last year to non-for-profit, and that is quite a substantial sum. It's money that could have been used elsewhere. It's money we could have used elsewhere on upgrading some machinery or putting some money aside for future upgrades. But I will say this, now that, you know, the money's gone, it's out of the checkbook, the check was written, I honestly didn't notice any difference in not having that 1% available to us from last year. Again, it was from last year, so it wasn't 1% of what we currently had in the bank. It was 1% of last year's gross, not even the profits, the gross. And again, I don't necessarily understand sometimes how these things work. You would think that writing a check like that and not having that amount of money immediately available to us would be a big deal, and it really wasn't. It just kind of, we wrote the check, and within a couple days we had that same amount of money was back in the bank. So it was a real blessing. And I do believe, again, we've talked about some of my biblical views in the past, and I believe that, you know, cheerful giving and willing giving and things like that, you get blessed for it, especially when you give with no intentions of receiving anything from it. So just a couple thoughts on giving as well. It's important. It's something that we do, we've always done. It's something that we're instilling into the morals of our children. So whether it's giving financially or giving of time, it's definitely something we can do. And it seems like a sacrifice at the time, but many times, even though I say it's not supposed to, you know, be this for that, so giving is incredibly rewarding, and not necessarily financially, just when you're volunteering and you see the difference that you were able to make, in people's lives, or when you're donating financially, and you can see the difference that you're able to make in an organization or in one person's life if you help one person out. It's a big deal, and it's something that I would really encourage. It's something that seems to be starting to go away in the newer generations, and there's a lot of people that have a lot of money, and granted, that's all relevant. I look at somebody who compared to me has a lot of money, but then they look at somebody who compared to them has a lot of money. So it's not all about money. It's not all who has the most toys in the end wins, as a friend of mine likes to say sometimes. But it's an important part of being in the community, working in the community, and it's an important part of building a good name for yourself. And that's a topic for a future video, is building a good name for yourself. And I like to say, and you'll have to forgive me for this because I'm sure it's a little bit cliche, but I recently put in an email to someone as we were going back and forth with contract negotiations, pricing wise. I said, you know, we've worked very, very diligently over the last 25 years to build a very good name for ourselves in the community and in the landscaping business. And I said, and one thing that I've learned is the only thing harder than achieving a good name is keeping a good name. And it's something that's really important to me, and it's something that I will be going over in a future video at some point. So thank you for watching. If you have any suggestions for future videos, something you'd like me to cover, please email me at elmendorfacres@gmail.com. Thank you for watching. Please like, please subscribe.